Green all the way in 6A.
Ho, ho, ho! Welcome to the holiday edition of Green All the Way in 6A. I wanted to show you how I made my Christmas tree out of basically all recycled material. I had friends come over, they were pretty impressed. I figured, hey, why don't I show you how I did it? So, to start, I had to make my base, and this is all just plywood that I found, guess where, in the dumpster. And I attached it so that I got the height that I wanted, and I attached it to this bottom support piece. You want to make this nice and wide. And believe me, I learned this the hard way. You're also going to want to anchor this with very, very heavy things, because I had my tree all put together, all decorated, looking great, and then it fell over and it created a disaster. Luckily, that was before I had anybody over for my Christmas party, but that is something to be aware of. You're going to want to make sure that your tree is nice and anchored. And what I did to do that was I took a whole bunch of boxes and I filled them with very heavy things like books, and then I wrapped them up to look like presents, so it kind of worked and nobody knew what was going on for real. So what I did was I started with the base, and then I covered it with kind of this brown paper to give it a somewhat bark looking appearance. You can also paint it. All in all, it's not really the focus of the project. No one's really going to know unless they're really, really looking at it, because by the time you put your lights up and you put the branches in and you decorate it, it's the last thing that anyone's going to see. But then what I did was I had all of these sticks hanging around from a fig tree that I had trimmed, and this is how I actually made my tree. So obviously the longer branches are at the bottom, and what I did was, before you decorate each branch, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that you anchor them into the tree. So what I did was I drilled a hole. I took my drill bit and I went through the center of the wood and I drilled a hole in kind of diagonally until the bit came out towards the end. And then what I did was I put my branch where I wanted it to go on the trunk here that I made, and I took my bit and I went the opposite direction in the hole that I made so that you know what angle you need to go into the tree. So I drilled that way, and then I took a big nail and I put it through, and voila, it just stayed there. It was beautiful. So I did that all the way around, and again, I'm inserting the photos as I describe what I'm doing to show you the process. I did that all the way around, and then it was time for the fun part, decorating each branch. So I'm going to demonstrate that with a smaller branch just because it's easier for now. So this branch would probably be somewhere up here just because of its length. And what I did was you need to use pretty heavy stock paper. You're not going to want to use the paper that you've been using to cover all the other projects that we've been using Mod Podge on. This is heavier stock paper. This is actually photographic paper from all my old headshots from my acting days. And I cut them into strips this is about 1.5 inches wide, but here's the fun part. What you do is you fringe each piece. Again, I know all of this is very time-consuming stuff, but I fringed each piece like so, and then I painted each one of these. My evergreen Christmas tree color. I just paint each piece like this, like so, and unfortunately you have to do both sides. So we're going to pretend that I did both sides, and when this dries, I'll show you the next step. All of these pieces that have already been painted the green, but you can see they're all fringed. And then what I do is I kind of mess them up a little bit like this, just so that they have a little bit more of an interesting nature-like shape. And I have to tell you, I got very, very excited doing this project because not only had I used all my old headshots as journal pages, but I turned and I recycled them that way, but then I double recycled them by turning them into my Christmas tree. So it's just this little geek moment that I had that I thought I'd share. Anyway, so our next step, we take our branch that we've already made sure that we know how it's going to go into our tree. And then we start at the end, and we take a hot glue gun, we put some glue at the very, very end, and then we take our already colored pieces and we glue it there, make sure that it's nice and stuck there. Ooh, and also make sure you don't burn yourself. This hot glue is very, very hot, appropriately named. So we've got that anchored on there, and then what we do is we just twist it, we spiral it like this. And as you can see, we've got this great little effect going. And then we hot glue the end, and bam, we've got the beginnings of our Christmas tree branch. And this is what the whole thing looks like when you're done. Very nice, and you can hang your ornaments on it. And you know, you multiply this by about, I think there's 60 branches on this tree. So you'll see the photos. It ends up looking pretty cool. And when you decorate it and put the lights on, a lot of people don't even realize that it's a fake tree. So that's how I made my Christmas tree. And again, not a weekend project. It takes a lot of time to do this, and probably a lot of patience too. But I hope you enjoy it, and thank you again for tuning in to Green All the Way in 6A. Ho, ho, ho!
Green all the way in 6A.